have a book in my grade, so if I don't speak too much, sorry, but yeah. Last time building the game, we got the initial project setup done, and that includes building our MGCB files, which, as you can see, I've got 2 currently. Haven't done any work on it, so I might do asset work off screen because that can get boring. Anyway, pre-recording and uploading this because I'm like still 5 hours from being able to live stream on my secondary channel still, so I'm just gonna do that. I literally just woke up with the code, so yeah, not feeling the greatest, but I'm trying to, like, even if I just do pre-recorded content. But yeah, if I pop up my display capture, see, we got a little cat, and we can change this. It's hard to put it right now. We also have a console thing built for, like, when in debug. We actually have a console when we're debugging. But yeah, we could literally just change this variable here and then this variable here to select which sprite we're loading, but we're not doing that today. Today, I want to set up the dependency injection container so we can start containerizing things. So, anyway, let me add new project because we're going to need a new shared project. Also, get rid of that display capture so you guys can see my IDE full screen. Also, so I don't, flash anything on screen. I don't know. I'm not a fan of display captures. Too many mishaps have happened. I've seen over the last 2 decades since why stuff has been a thing. Too many mishaps. Okay. Anyway, we want to make a shared project here. Spell. This is the source. See, I don't want to do. I want to do that namespace, but like. Yeah, let's just do that. By the way, this is going to cause a crap ton of problems with our monogame class, so I'm going to just preemptively fix this. I'm going to define it using XerShade game and going to do this because as soon as I add anything to this namespace, the word game is going to be taken up by like a namespace identifier because this is in the Reoria namespace. Yeah. Alright, anyway, let's add new folder. Look at the container. And I'm going to add a new folder. I'll call it registrars, and then I'm going to add a few interfaces. So I'm building a modular DI container. That interface, so pull up that. OBS, go over there. Yeah, over there. GitHub real quick, just so I have references to look at. I need to install some packages too in a second, but I'll do that in a second. I just want to create these interfaces first. We're just gonna these interfaces, we're not actually going to build, well, we might build some of them in the main project here, but we're not actually going to implement these interfaces. It's not here. To implement these, and then I'm literally just going to copy these in from my old code. At least okay, so I need pack. Okay, so now, rather. That is not the repository I'm going to go into. At repository. I apologize if the music is real loud. I need it. Okay, so we're going to copy in these. I'm literally just going to copy these in because I want to improve how the game. Okay, so the service configuration registrar doesn't need anything. I'm just going to copy this in. So when something implements this interface, it's going to give it the configure services method, which will let us mess with the service provider. So this one is fairly simple, not too much of a problem. The configuration one is I'm redoing my whole configuration system, so let's not bother with that one for now. Let me just clean up this file. Do that. I need to build the configuration system loading stuff still, so I'll just remove that, and then we'll just go down here. And here we're going to go boop. So we're going to be using autofac. So this is not happy with me right now for many reasons. So yeah, we need to pass in an autofac builder and our configuration thing. This is not going to be happy because we don't have any of these. Go to manage NuGet packages and autofac first and foremost. And I can't. Solution for this. Just look at my old code, look at what packages I added. This time. Okay, I'm just going to import the Microsoft extension. I'm just going to directly add these. And then I'll update them once we add them. But yeah, I'm just going to, in this, I'm just going to directly add these. So we want the configuration stuff and the logging for now. Installed now. I'm gonna need to update all. By just installing these packages, we get all of these ones here. Although I do want this one installed, not tracked. I want that one explicitly defined. That's the one I was looking for in my configuration for. Okay, so we want to be able with the configuration here. We want to, we need the base package, and then we want to be able to load environment variables files, JSON files specifically as well. User secrets for when we're doing dev stuff, like we don't want to deploy with our keys and stuff, so we'll do that. And then we need the dependency injection system, obviously, and then for logging, we want, for base Microsoft logging, we will be setting up Serlog as well, but for base logging, we want logging configuration and console. Let me just double check to make sure there's not any things I want, like, action. Don't want anything that says abstraction. Anything that says abstraction, that makes sense. We don't need this. So you know what? Yes, let's actually define that one specifically. Just in case I remove something, because we are going to need the options. So let me just say we have options, logging, dependency injection, configuration. Okay, so these are the four main things we need. These other things, like if you didn't want configuration or console, you could just get rid of those. Any things you want are logging, BI, configuration. Just want those defined. Just like I said, we want those extra configuration things because we want to be able to load stuff. And then I'm going to pop into here, and I'm just going to update that because I obviously haven't updated that code in a while. Hit apply. Okay, that is done. So now if I right click and click that, that using and install package auto back that. Okay, what did that install? I looked for autofact. That was not in my client notes as in my previous thing. Okay, so we're gonna use autofact to build. I want to actually read these. Oh, I need to read these comments here. This one's here for a little minute. Okay, anyway, now that that's done, we have these registrar classes now, so we have those. We have those. Let's actually start building our container. We're literally just going to set up here. So let's just add a new item. Don't do add new class to shared code library. It goes to C# items for some reason. It's a C#. Engine container. I do want to get my disposable. I do want to add some other stuff, so I'm going to add a new project. By the way, the reason I use shared code projects is if these were regular like class library projects, my game would have like a bunch of dills. These code projects, the way they work, these shared code projects, the way they work is this code here is going to get baked physically into the client. So like this project here, like this container stuff, it's going to be in the same namespace as this Reoria game engine, but it'll be in the actual client assembly. So if you decompile the client, you'll see this stuff in it. There are cases for shared project libraries, but No, I don't want to call it framework. Framework I want to reserve for stuff. Yeah, I'll just call it common for now. I can rename it later. Anyway, we're going to add this common namespace here. And we're going to add in this root namespace, we're going to add a new item of this. So I want to have this disposable base class, and what we're going to do is we're just going to make a wrapper class that I can quickly instantiate these two dispose patterns, because I do not want to implement the dispose pattern every time I want to do something. And would you believe I actually have this on my base class, so I'm just going to make my own code, and I kind of liked what I made, so I'm going to import that. Okay, disposable, the common disposable, there we go. Okay, I'm going to copy this class. And I'm going to get rid of that. I'm just going to paste this here. I'm going to go through this and just make sure everything is good. But yeah, okay. So we want to fix some of this, some of that. Okay. Fix that. Why is that? Okay, so let me just go through this just to make sure. Okay, that is complaining. I really don't care. For disposing an object. Later doesn't matter. Any task decision. Okay, we need to switch this test up. So we do task. Let me not delete the code I'm trying to fix before task. This dispose. Hold on. Can we really go past this? I need to call this, but I need to. Yeah, I need to set that to false. Okay, so that's happening now. Code disposed function, marker done. So the way this works, by the way, the dispose pattern, if I just like say I set engine container to null, this will get called when it disposes the class, but it won't dispose if you look down here in the dispose stuff. I also have some override functions for this pattern. That's why I said it's pattern wrapper. So like, instead of overriding these and re-implementing this whole pattern, you just override these functions. I'm gonna go through and make sure everything's Gucci, but so yeah, if you see on dispose here, let's go to the up here. So yeah, if we haven't already disposed, so if I call .dispose, it will run both of these. However, if I just set the engine container to null, it'll only call this one because the managed objects will then get picked up by the garbage collector. Like, this is not always required to run because managed objects, the garbage collector will do that, and that's why in the finalizer if we dispose it manually, we also tell it not to do it again. So yeah, we override the finalizer when we call this. Otherwise, we just go this, and then anything in this here, we don't bother with this on the finalizer because that slows down the finalizer, and the garbage collector will deal with it. And I can make the dispose pattern, honestly. I could just dispose everything, but someone who gets paid a lot more than I do came up with this, so I'm not going to question it. Okay, so let me just go finish going through this. Okay, so finalizer looks good now. And we want to call both of these. Both of these because the async one doesn't actually mark it as disposed for some reason. I need to figure why. That wasn't in the dispose pattern, but because this is calling the internal. It's the public thing that marks it as disposed. Okay. So yeah, when we finalize it, we just want to go through, get rid of it, and then the async dispose also calls the base as well. So this one doesn't because we don't want to do async operations on it. But I don't know. I'll figure that out later. If that causes a problem, I'll know where to look. Just checking the rest of these. Okay. Neat. Okay, so we're going to save that, we're going to close that. So now we can inherit... Okay, so the configuration stuff still needs to be looked at. Okay, but now we can really go back to doing this. So we're not... I have a migraine that is balancing between not enough light and too much light. We got an interface and new item because I want to be able to let people override this. Container. Public interface. I just usually just make a class because I don't like changing it because I like to have it on class by default. If I switch it to interface, I'll just switch back to class and I forget to do that, and then I'm making a bunch of interfaces. Container. Since I don't have that yet, so let's just do that. Okay, and then we also want to inherit disposable from my thing. By the way, inspiration I got from this, let me just pop it here real quick. If I just pop this in here, I'm just going to pop this reference in here real quick. Make it this. So yeah, I'm literally just kind of doing this, just a little bit more of things. So yeah, we can get this is doing a little more. This is doing a little more interlocking. Like I'm just using blocks. This is using interlocking. But you can see it's kind of doing the same thing. It has the disposed value. It has. It's using a flag too, instead of just a boolean. And then it's calling this, and then you have the projected override thing. I am just using the stuff I might actually simplify. And you can see it's doing the same thing with dispose async. It's blocking it, suppressing the finalizers. So yeah, that's kind of the same thing, just might be a little more involved. Probably not necessarily involved, but yeah. Should double check. Also, make sure I added that. So yeah, I just use a thread lock instead of calling the interlock function manually. Yeah. So to just not bother with all this, I just do the dispose pattern, then I just have these free managed and unmanaged objects, and then the async versions. Yeah, I just do that instead because. Alright, anyway, so let's add a new constructor, public container, service collection. We're gonna pass some services in by default. Why, you may ask? Because we're going to need some of these services. First thing we do. First thing we're going to do is whatever we pass in, we're going to build that straight to a provider. And then we need to set up some stuff. So what we need is we need a protected read-only iLogger iEngine container. Logger. So we need a logger. The container needs a logger to write to the console. It also means it needs a logger factory. Because we are creating the logger here. Which that requires nothing yet, actually. So yay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get some logging set up. So that is the first thing we're going to do. So add new folder, logging, add logging. Okay. Let's add a new folder called interfaces. Add new item. iEngine logger factory. And this interface is going to have 3 functions. It's going to have 3 functions. We're going to get an iLogger T, get logger E. So factory, we want to be able to get a logger from it. iLogger factory, get logger factory. So this will get the logger factory, and then iEngine logger factory. So this is for method chaining. We want to add configuration. So This is the class. This is the interface we're going to implement to implement our logging. So right now we just want to add a configuration to do there. We can add more to this later, but yeah, we just want to do that, and then so yes, that is that done. So these will be used by the container to get the things, and then this will be used to like inject configuration. We don't have configuration, but anyway. So let me create a logger factory. We'll be implementing XerLog. Let me add a new. We're gonna add base logging first. Get the base working before you screw with anything. It's like what I did with the game yesterday. Before we screw with anything, make sure it runs a blue window. We're gonna do the same thing. So create this. Into element into logger factory. Right like that. We're gonna go div. With that crap. And we're going to switch that around just so that's going to annoy me. Actually, no, we're not. We'll leave that alone. In fact, actually, I'm going to move that up there so I can yeah, there might be some inconsistencies. Like you might see pushes on the Git repo, which is just me organizing the code. Anyway, so I need to borrow the base. So we're going to have a protected logger factory. I'm gonna figure out what. Oh. Okay, so we're just going to do that. Actually, we're gonna have this one private factory, and then we're going to. Why did I make it? Hang on, I'm trying to read this in the code. This is why I wanted to read you this, because yeah, a lot of this base code is there. Well, let's do the easy. Let's do the easy thing. Great. Now let's just do protected, read only, not protected. Logger factory ? Logger factory. Perfect. Okay, so we have that defined. Now in this here, we're just going to do this. We're just going to use block body because we don't need it. We're going to do block. This dot block. I need the disposable class. This is why I. So imagine if I didn't make that disposable class. I would need to re-implement the disposable pattern for this, so I can just do this instead. And then, if just tell the game to shut up. Let me just get this class set up so I can not like. Okay, so it's going to scream at us that I have not implemented these. Okay, so we're going to do block. This block. So we're going to lock while doing this. I'm going to do object disposed exception throw if this dot is disposed. This. So if this is disposed, we don't want to do that, and obviously we need this in all these functions, so we're going to do that. Okay, so if we are disposed, we don't want it to do this. Anyway, to get the logger factory, we're literally just going to return this logger logger factory, and to resolve the fact that it may be null, we're going to do throw new null reference exception. I will code an exception later when I go through and do some documenting. Okay, so that's the logger factory done, and then we're going to do if this logger factory is null, and if we do get out of that somehow, we're going to do throw new invalid operation exception there. I will add the error messages in a sec. I want to make a language file system this time around, which, yeah. Okay, so if the logger factory is null, we obviously can't make the logger, so we're going to throw an invalid operation exception. If not, we're going to come up here and we're going to do return this logger factory, create logger t, and that's that function. So we have two of the functions we need implemented. Now we need to do the configuration and generating the logger factory itself. So I used to have that as an inherited thing. I'm just going to copy paste the code over and over because it's just easier. I'm trying to do less inheritance, more composition this time around. Okay, so I'm just going to close this Serlog shit for now. I'm just going to close those for now, and we're just going to do this. So, we want to add function chaining for this, obviously, but anyway, in this function here, we just want to do this. So we're going to do this, logger factory equals ms logger factory. Why do I need to do that again? Why did I define that? We need a logger factory. I needed to do that because we have logger factory defined as that. Okay, hang on. Using ms factory equals Microsoft extensions. What? Logging. Logger factory. Okay, so we want to do this. We want to do this. Logger factory equals this logger factory. And actually, I'm gonna fix this in a second. If I wanted to add configuration, we're gonna do configuration, get section, logging. We're gonna do at the end of that, dot add. We're gonna do that. Add console. Now, this should, if I pass in an empty configuration group. Oh, and then we need to return this. Okay. So this should get us some basic logging working in our container. Go back to our container. We are literally just going to do this logger factory equals service provider services engine logger factory dot get logger factory. And in fact, why do we even have that on that? Let's simplify this further. We don't actually need to get the logger from that. We just need the logger factory. I'm going to rename this in a second. Yeah, we don't even want this. Single responsibility principle. Because now that we have this, we can do this logger equals this logger factory. Create logger by engine container. Yes, single responsibility principle violation I never caught. That's why it's a good idea to go through your code and just review it every now and then. What am I missing? Oh, I'm missing a brace there. No, I'm not. I'm missing a brace there. Okay. So we're just hard coding that right now. But anyway, this should work. So now if I pop this in here, I'm just going to do this longer information. Let's just do the classic. Okay, so if I do this, and if I go to our program.cs, we're going to need that. So, I'm going to build a shenanigans workflow. Let me just add in configuration equals new configuration builder build. I'm just going to create a blank configuration to pass in here. I'm going to improve this thing. So add configuration that so we'll just do that for now. Again, I need to improve a lot of this, but we can just do that for now. Let's just do that. And then let's just do up here using iEngine. Why is that not? iEngine container. No. Oh. Don't want it actually defined as that. I want it defined as that. I want there, and I want to use that. Okay. It thought I was trying to define that using statement as a thing. Why do you not implement iDisposable? Because I didn't implement it on the actual interface. That's why. Okay, so this needs to be iDisposable, iAsync disposable. Okay. Okay, so that actually works now, and then this needs a service collection, so I'm just going to do iService collection, services, new service collection. And then we're going to do services, add transient, logger factory, Microsoft logger factory. So we're just going to pass in this. This is why we want to pass in a service collection, because we want to define it here. So like on Android, we might want a different logger factory or something. So yeah, we want to pass in an initial container to build our container. This saves us trying to instantiate all this manually. We use dependency injection to dependency injection. Dependency injection inception. Okay, so now if I run this, because that's in the constructor, we should get hello world. Again, I'm going to go through and like improve readability and flow of that, but get the general gist. I'm just turning on the display capture too. So you see, we got a logger. We have a logger. It's not a good logger, but we have a logger. And then if we wanted to, like, if this was injectable, we could inject this into the engine container too, and then this would just inject a thing. Anyway, I want to go through and fix some of this, so let's do that. Okay, let's start with this. Let's do protected configuration. Bloop. Configuration. This is not here. We're doing this. We're going to do public virtual void. I will virtual these ones separately. Public virtual I engine logger factory build logger factory. This is going to be where we actually do this. So we're going to boot this in here. And over here, well, first of all, I need the lock function. I need the lock code. That would be starter. Okay. Up here, instead of do this, we're just going to do this. We're going to do this dot configuration equals new. Not new. We're gonna store that. So we're just gonna store that in there. So now that we've done that, we need to fix this. We're going to do this, configuration. Okay, so let me just do some shenanigans here. So let me replace this with a link. Builder, bit. So I want to add some more logic. Okay, anyway. Okay, so on that lambda, let's do that. Now we want to do if this configuration is not null. Just discard that. Don't care. And then we'll do this. So if it is not null, we want to do builder add configuration. This configuration get section login. Okay, so this lets us register the configuration or just build it. So if I don't pass in a configuration, I'm going to go here and do this. So if I don't actually bother with this yet, because we don't have configuration, we're just going to do build. That's not part of the interface yet. I can just pull that up. In fact, actually, this here, we just go here. And then what we can do instead is we can guard plus this. We can do if this dot logger factory is null. So we actually don't need this anymore, because if it is null, we should be creating it. Statement there. Okay, so we should never have a null reference problem. Just check. So we should never have a logger thing, because this will generate the logger factory if we don't have it. Yeah, every time someone wants the service, so we'll just make a new line. Yeah, this compounds that into that, and then we just store the configuration if we have it. Yeah, that's the thing. Okay. So okay, so now if we have in the container, if we just do get logger factory, we should be good. So I'm just going to run this real quick. And this should give us basic logging without any configuration. Neat. Okay, and real quick, I'm just going to chain call this. So we have the start of our container. Now we need to get some more stuff going. So I'm just going to bring that. So we're using the singleton pattern here to generate that, and we're not violating the shenanigans of we're not violating the shenanigans of making a multi. This should not be generating loggers. This is just for making a logger factory. Also, I want to fix this. Call find logger. Over. Going to be a problem. So let's do this. Find logger. Builder. I'm going to call this next up logger factory. Builder. So yeah, we're gonna name those better too. So we're gonna call it factory builders because that's what they do. Where's my intelligence dead? So yeah, we're just gonna call it factory builders. So this is a required service. So if you do not pass this in when constructing my engine container, it will scream at you very loudly and then crash. But it will scream at you. So yeah, we're good there, we're good there. Okay, so I'm not going to bother too much with that right now because I do want to add Serolog, but that is literally just making another factory builder, and then so we'd make a Serolog logger factory builder. Yeah. Okay, I do want to improve this a little bit though. I do want to do this one. Builder is that. So let's do that there and then that there. Just so that's a little shorter because once I start adding the method chains onto it, it's gonna So let's do like things in chunks. So first thing we want to do is we want to resolve the service. This is just good workflow as well. We want to resolve all the services and then use them. So that way if something goes wrong here, I don't have to go like, service container? Is it this? Yeah, break your code into chunks. In fact, I could make this an overload, but anyway, let's actually call this back up actually. Because I need to go through it and actually fix a couple things. Even though I'm going composition focused, I do still want to allow people to override things if needed. So if someone wants to take this base thing and then make this better and not mess with this, or if they want to mess with the configuration, yeah, we can do that anyway. However, what I'm going to do next Yeah, you know what? I'm not actually gonna do that. Although I need to add the app settings JSON itself, because that's the next step, is building the app settings configuration. In fact, actually, what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna boot this in here. And then when we're done with this base, what we're starting to do. So first things first, we want to set up this, and we're gonna plug a bare bones configuration into this. We'll have the full configuration system, and then rebuild the logger. So we want to build a bare bones logger, and then we want to have just enough logging so we can actually log, because we want to be able to log the creation of the configuration. So when we're loading a bunch of configuration files. So if we have 50, okay, say eventually we have multiple configurations and, oh God forbid, and plugins. If they start adding configurations, we don't want to load all those right away, because someone could put a malformed file in there and then the whole thing would explode. So we want to have a bare bones thing set up, and then this here is just to this here is just a thing to. This is just a fancy startup message, so when I run it, it'll just say creating Dependency game, please wait, and then it'll give us some details on what's actually running it. It's just a fancy shenanigans. Yeah. Okay, you know what? Let's put this in the common. Let's put this in the common for now. So let's add new item. Call it app settings. JSON configure. And no, this is not a C# class, this is a JSON file. Alright, so with that in play, anybody else says okay, so let's grab this here. And I have a whole bunch of stuff in here, but for now, let's grab the logging section, because that's all that matters to me right now. So let's just grab this, configure the logging, and then eventually I'm going to want the Serolog thing, but we'll deal with Serolog next. So let's get this going. So we want to do, we also want to make sure this copies of newer, whatever. So, with this now, what we want to do is we want to load that bare bones thing in. So we're going to create a bare bones. Now, I'm going to need a configuration system because Android will scream. I'm not joking. Android does not appreciate this at all. We're just going to create a new configuration builder, add set base path, let's add JSON file. I'm going to create a whole configuration thing for this in a second. Anyway, app settings.json. Optional false. Load on change. False. Build. And we don't actually want that as a builder. We want that. I'm going to just method chain this properly. Actually, you know what? Let's actually just leave that as a configuration builder. And then we just do add configuration here. Build. We pass in this. That'll get us the app settings.json and only the app settings.json. And maybe, again, I'll be setting up a system to resolve the files and stuff, so we want to include the environment variable and stuff, but have full doses now, but I need one right now. It is spinning. For good reason. Alright, so we want to get a bare bones thing and plug it into there. So if I was to just come in here, and if I was to add Reoria, anything with the Reoria namespace, if I was to do critical only, if I was to run this, we should not get... If I run this now, we should not get any startup message. Because it should load the log levels. It should load the log levels, which means... But yeah, we need a file, way to resolve file providers. Okay, perfect. So we did that, and now if I get rid of this, or if I just set this back to default, set that back to default. So if we go back to default, because the default is set to debug. By the way, this is how you change stuff easily. If you had an app settings.production, you would just not define this, or you would set this to like whatever log level you wanted. So now if I run it again, see, we have configuration. So we're loading a bare bones configuration. That is cool. Problem, like I said, is if I'm not hooking my phone up right now because my phone is currently RuneScaping. Speaking of RuneScaping, between my Supreme Wisdom aura and the beach, I'm almost to my goal on Hunter. So I want 78 Hunter, and then I'm going to Jadinkas, and then I'm going to level Dungeoneer. But yeah, on the beach. I'm almost to my Hunter goal for today. Yay! It's a heat wave right now, so I'm going to keep training on RuneScape, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we need to modularize even this, because yeah, different platforms might have different problems. Like, I know for a fact Android is going to throw a conniption fit with this. So this works, but it doesn't. Anyway, let me commit this real quick. Add engine. Let's just add this in before I go too crazy. Let's add this in. So let's commit this. So we have a base DI container. It's not doing anything, but we have it, and it loads an app settings.json and sets up logging. We have the base container. Now we need to start messing with configuration. So we're going to come up here to configuration, and we're going to add a new folder here that calls configuration. Configuration. And we're going to add a new folder. Find an inner basis folder. Again, not feeling well. Okay, so we're going to add a new interface. Called interface. Called that. I'll switch this to interface in a second. And then this interface, I'm just going to go over it in a second, but let's just do everything I need into existence and then we can go over it. So, configuration provider. This is going to let us define how to add things. Like when we want to add a JSON file, we'll do it in here. If we want an environment, so like, okay, so what I'm saying here is Android needs to use the asset manager for a certain thing. I don't know the solution around this, but I had to use the asset manager for loading the app settings.json. So on Android, if I had an Android project, we would make an Android configuration provider, plug that into our dependency injection container, and then go from there. Anyway, we want to build the configuration builder. So in this, this here is just a bunch of shenanigans. I will go over that in a second. But generally, we want to be able to define if we want to use this, want to use that, want to use that, want to use that. So we're going to add a base configuration provider. We're going to add a base configuration provider, and we'll do that. Okay, so let's add. Also, let me just check something. Yes, that is already used. So I'm just gonna. Okay, let's just call it this for now. We can come up with new names later. Let's add a base new item engine configuration provider. And it's going to implement disposable and no. I want my thing. Thank you. That's going to start screaming at me because that. Okay, so real quick, I'm just going to do the easy part. I'm just going to do the easy part. We're just going to do this. We're going to boot these properties into existence because these are half the things at once. So we just want to define this stuff here, and in the constructor, we are going to configure these. By the way, these are. I need to. Okay, so what we're doing here is if we're in debug mode, we're always just going to mark it as in development mode. That's what the benefit of the debug flag. So if I switch to release, you'll see it'll switch to getting the actual environment variable for development or production, or whatever environment we're set to. However, in debug, we're in debug. So we can just manually override that. And then the version, we're just going to get the assembly version. If not, we'll just default to default. And then builder, we're going to do get current directory, which I don't have defined. So let's define that real quick. We're going to do boop. Okay. And then we override that again just because if we need it overridden, we can override it. And then what we're going to do here is on this, we're going to do that. And then we're going to have these two functions here, which we are going to put into existence here. So when we build it, we want to add the environment variables and the user secrets, and we just want to forward those to logic functions that can be overridden because we'll do the logic checking here. Yeah, if we want to do if if not empty, this environment variables, this. Again, I'm reusing a bit of code from my old project, but yeah, so this here, we just want to loop this over, and then we want to do this. Like, if you're on a platform, like, okay, let's say Android doesn't have environment variables, it does, let's pretend. On the Android configuration provider, I would just override this and just return the builder. Like, I would just void this, if I was inheriting this. Which I'm pretty much going to, like, I'm trying to not use inheritance over. I would prefer using composition for a lot of things. So I don't have like a 20,000 nested tree. However, this is something that would be appropriate for inheritance, because if we're only changing one thing, adding the files, we only want to do them. Now, what am I missing here? We're missing the add things. Okay, so to implement these last two functions we need, we're just going to put them in there, and then I'll go over them. I need to erase there because I deleted it. Alright, so this here is the engine configuration provider done. And then, yeah, so this is just doing the base thing. And then I have this add environment JSON file, which does this, but it adds the environment, so it replaces the .json with the environment, so neat. That is a neat little trick I've done. Sorry, 1 second. An optional true, because environment things should always be true, because they may or may not exist. Like app settings like development.json, we probably don't always have. So that is the engine configuration provider, and then like I said, on Android, I would override things that need to be overridden. So like on Android, we need to override this, because this here doesn't work. We need to open a JSON stream, blah, blah, blah. In fact, I'm going to create the Android project at some point, just to implement this. I will be implementing that just so it's done and I don't have to think about it. But yeah, and then see, so yeah, we have our configuration provider. Just RG that, so like those seasons are fine. Okay, so this works. So we flow this, get current directory, and then get configuration builder goes into these two functions, and then we just have those two public. Okay, and then that is good. So yeah. These are just like that. Now, if I pass in the container here, if I do add transient engine configuration provider, lessons, please update. I'll just do that. Now if we pass this in, we can get it in our container and we can use it here instead of this. So we can do engine configuration provider services. We can just do that. And then we can do configure to get but we want to actually do stuff for that, so real quick we're just going to slot here and do that JSON file, that settings.json. Add it in here. I do have a wrapper class we can pass in for this too, but I just want to test one thing at a time. Test one thing at a time, make sure it works. So now if we pass this in, this should be dependency like injection safe now. So if I, like I said, if I was on Android, I would pass in the asset manager and use the Android asset, like the Android configuration provider, read from the asset manager instead of trying to open a raw file. So yeah, that worked. That worked. Also, I just realized I never closed my my desktop view. I apologize. That was messy. Okay, so we have that. Now, that again. Core configuration. We keep defining eye configuration. That we keep pulling in that using namespace and then getting rid of it. I feel bad. Anyway. So we have that, but we want to automate this a little further. So we're going to create a couple of classes. We're going to add, and again, I will think of the names for these. We're going to call this configuration source. And this is just going to be a simple struct. So this is just going to be a source. We're just going to just do this. Yay. So this is just going to be the path thing. So literally everything we're plugging into this function here, we're just going to put that in as a structure. And then we need a class to deal with those. So we're going to add new item. Call that. I'm gonna rename this something better in a second, just to get everything working. I'm just gonna use my old code. Okay, so we want to get started. I'm gonna actually take this in this big. Okay, so I'm gonna do protected read-only list engine configuration source sources. We need to inject the engine configuration provider. So we're going to do protected, read-only, engine configuration provider. That equals that, and actually, you know what? We're just going to leave that alone, and then we're going to click add generate constructor. Switch that to a primary constructor. Better. And then need to add a new interface, add new item. We need to add, yeah, everything we do, we need an interface. iEngine. Oh, for God's sakes. iEngine, there we go, fingers, thank you. Configuration, sources, interface, because duh. The dependency injection based, we're gonna have a lot of interfaces. Anyway, let's implement disposable here and that. Okay. Oh, like, why did I not make that easier? I almost did not have to turn the green screen. I can shut my phone off because it's getting a little hot. I didn't charge it, so I'm charging it while playing RuneScape. Alright, so we want to get the configuration provider, and then we want to do this. And I don't want the artifact.util disposable. I want my disposable, please. Thank you. Even though it does the same thing. Anyway. Anyway, so we're gonna add a add source function. So the add source function, we are literally just going to boop, 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 boop. It is literally that simple. We are just going to add a source. I'm gonna change these in a second, but yeah. Anyway, the main fun is gonna come in their next function. Public virtual void. No, not void. Configuration. Also, I need to actually make this a little more effective. Block body. I need to actually make this thread say block. This block. Okay. Anyway, public virtual configuration. Get configuration. No parameters. Loop. And then we do block. this.lock. So the idea with the lock, by the way, is if you have a multi-threaded application for some reason doing this, this shouldn't be because this is single-threaded. So, the idea with this is, so the reason why the locks are here is, say I'm in the middle of iterating, like, do what I'm about to do. If that was a thing, you would have a problem. Because if you try to add a source while we're iterating through this, like if another thread tries to inject sources while we're iterating through this, it's going to cause problems. Anyway. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just iterate through the sources. For each engine configuration source this sources. Do a discard. This configuration provider add. I'm just going to copy this because I don't want to type all this. We're just going to do this. And we're going to pick some naming because I might pass in a different type of provider. Injection wise, like that was another thing. So anyway, we're going to loop through all the sources we have, and we're going to bippity boppity boop. So we're just going to call the provider we just made, we're going to call that. So we're going to do this. I'm going to abstract that in a second, but yeah. So yeah, we're just going to do that, and then we're going to do that again. We're literally going to do that again, except we're going to do, we're going to add the environment files. So the reason I built a structured class like this is because I had problems where we were doing this, and then something else would try to load this, and then this, and yeah. So this just makes it all clean, and I'm gonna actually just gonna pull that up real quick. So this will load all the configurations and then load their environment override files. So it'll do that in that order just to make like the cleaner flow, and then literally we just want to do return this to get configuration builder. So yeah, this is just a wrapper class to semi-automate and modularize the configuration provider. This is dependency injection safe because it injects the configuration provider when it's constructed, and then yeah. Anyway, now we're going to implement this in our code. So let's add transient. Actually, no, this needs to be a singleton. Add singleton engine configuration sources. As multiple things are going to need this, maybe. Well, actually, no, let's just do transient, and if it causes problems, we'll fix it. Add transient. Should only singleton stuff that should be singleton. Don't singleton everything. Engine configuration sources. Engine configuration sources. So this requires the provider. We have the provider. So now if we just implement this inside our now if we just implement this instead of our container, instead of this. So instead of implementing this, block factory is what just scream at me. Engine configuration sources. Equals service provider get required service engine configuration sources. Good. And we're just going to do some setup here. Configuration sources. Okay, I'm going to put this into a function, so let's make this protected. Virtual void. Let me just put this back. Okay, let me just put this here. Director Logger, Iron Logger Factory. Create Logger Factory. We're gonna want an engine configuration sources. Yep. Engine logger. Logger factory builder. Engine configuration sources. Okay, so we'll just pass these in. We're gonna get rid of that real quick, and we're gonna do this. Create logger factory. That. Okay, so we're just gonna pass this in just this here. Okay, so in here we're just going to do stuff. So first thing we want to do, we want to configure the configurations. Configure sources, add source, add settings.json, optional false, reload unchanged true. Okay, so we just want to add that in, and then to return factory builder get logger. Hang on. Add configuration sources build get configuration get logger. Okay, so we're just doing that there. So we can do our configuration there. In fact, let me just make this one step cleaner. So okay, so yeah, we'll just do that instead, and then we don't need to do anything with this because that is just called that. Okay, so that should be implemented now, and configuration namespace. Put configuration namespace. Okay, so that should work. I'm going to run that, and it should build. I'm going to go through and clean up the ever-living hell out of all that code, and like mainly work on the wording and stuff. Okay, it loaded. It's gonna trust me. I'm not flipping the thing right now. Actually, I'm gonna delete this. In fact, actually, I'm gonna pass. I'm just gonna do all this in this function. Because I don't really see a need to do that. I think my original code, I was doing all that in the constructor, not using the nested function. No, I actually wasn't. I was literally just... Oh yeah, I was doing it that way. So yeah, I was passing that in. Doing it. Anyway, that is done. And I want to redo this. Create basic. Early, I want to call it basic logger factory. Okay, so we have our initial logger that we build our service provider that we pass in, and then we do that. We have our configuration shenanigans. This should be everything we need to get started. I just, like I said, need to go through all this code and review it. But yeah, let me do that next, and then we're Gucci, I think. So yeah, we literally only want app settings.json here. the rest of the engine stuff we will deal with. Oh, by the way, real quick. Now that we have our configuration system back in place. Now that we have our configuration back in place, we can actually implement this. I didn't implement it earlier, like I didn't add this earlier because we didn't have this. Now that we have this, we can inject stuff into this registrar. Anyway, let's close that. Okay, so I just want to go through here. Let's do our G. I don't know why the system is there. Okay, so we still don't have any public functions yet. This is all being done in the constructors. By the way, this is going to be a longer video. Anyway, so we have that there, I just want to go through and clean up. So we have our program.cs. You can see we're already like modularized and stuff now. I'm not going to hard code every configuration, it's just this basic one. We literally just want a bare bones basic bug. We don't want like 20,000 things. And in fact, I'm going to add some functions into this message. So let's change this. Okay, so I want to change these. So let's rename this to configuration manifest. I'm going to call it that, and I'm going to change the name of that to I configuration manifest. I that. My IntelliSense going to work? IntelliSense is being stupid. I need to reload Visual Studio, but I don't want it right now. We're going to rename that. And then we're going to name that. And then we're going to do that. And then we're just going to close all those. Just going to define that there. Container. And redefine this variable here. Configuration manifest. That. Okay, I think that is everything fixed. Hang on, let me reload Visual Studio real quick. Okay, so that should fix my IntelliSense. Okay. Anyway, so we want this. I don't want to call it engine, all this engine stuff. Okay, so the configuration manifest stuff we're going to quickly. We're going to rename this too. So we're going to rename this to figuring. We're going to call it that, and we're going to call it that. And we're going to hopefully. I don't hard define news, so that shouldn't cause too much problem. But that actually worked. Okay, my IntelliSense is working now. So we have configuration manifest entries, and we're going to name this entries, and we're going to rename add entry. And we're going to rename this to build build because that's what it's doing. Okay. So we've renamed those, so it's a little more clear what we're doing, and I want to call it a manifest because we're literally just like giving it a list of files. It's a manifest. Okay, I'm just going to run a quick build command, make sure that builds. I'm not going to run it, I'm just going to build it because it's literally the same behavior. I was just refactoring names. Yay, Kidinkos. Engineering hall on RuneScape. Because on the beach vent construction, I need to gather wood anyway. So I can just level that in 4 and 3. And fishing and cooking, I need food and strength. I can just do melee. Engineering is the best skill. I just wanted to get Hunter to 78 so I can get my preferred hunting method. Anyway, why? You know what? I'm gonna go for these stupid manifests. I'm getting rid of all this. Let me get rid of all this. I want to read this. I'm gonna redo all these comments and stuff later. Okay, so we want void. Add. Just do this. Configuration. Manifest. Okay, so yeah, okay, that looks good. Okay. And we just have that. And then yeah, it's that. That's good. Okay, so now if we build, we should be good. And that should be all the base stuff right now. Because I'm going to create the do want to get the Android stuff up and running, just at least temporarily. I'm not going all in on that, I just need to test it. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not going to bother testing right now. I will set that up because I know this works. So literally for Android, we just override the thing. No, I do want to change the name of this though. I can't call it provider. Let's actually, okay, hang on. Let's keep that on my clipboard. Call it resolver, because that's what it actually does. This actually resolves configuration files and stuff, so it's not actually providing anything, it resolves it. So like down here, when we add a JSON file, it resolves how to add that. I'm just gonna call it resolver instead. I just want the engine container called engine container because that's a thing. I might even rename that as so. I don't actually want to touch this. I want to update that and that. Oh, updated? Yes. Yeah, I'm actually going to rename the engine container too. Now let me just do... just commit that. Yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna... I did not order you to do that. No, why no? Oh. I need to fix that. Hang on, let me pull that out. It messed up the No, that is not where any of that actually goes. The shared project thing got messed up. We got a relative path for some done. We're in the home stretch now because we just need to program the actual dependency injection container. So we have our early loggers set up. I would like to add XerShade actually. You know what? Let's add XerShade real quick. We'll just add XerShade real quick. XerShade references. I prefer XerShade over Microsoft's built-in thing, but this is the benefit of being a DI container. If you don't like it, you can come into my program.cs and you can inject whatever log or factory builder you want. The whole point of building a modular is I'm building this for my game specifically, but if anyone wants to come along and use it, they can reconfigure this engine. Reconfigure this engine however they want. Yeah, I grinded up to 78 Hunter on RuneScape for this event because I wanted to capture Chidinkos. I wanted to get something semi-AFK. My Hunter was like 57 or something before I went to 78, so I'm good with that. I don't want to go any higher because Dungeoneering is the only skill that didn't really keep like tokens, obviously, but I'll just go to engineering anyway, I might as well. What do we do now? We have our XerShade. Okay, so we have our XerShade. We need to get our app settings, .json entries. In fact, I'm going to set this up a little better. I'm going to copy the XerShade entries, and we're going to have... I'm going to add a new file. This is the whole point of building things modularly. Come on, load. JSON. We're going to put all of our main XerShade config here. However, I do need this in the app settings base because we don't, like I said, we don't load this in when we're loading our bare bones. So in here, we need this. However, I'm not going to do any of this. We are going to use Okay, log level. We're not going to enrich or anything. We're literally just going to get a bare bones. We're literally just going to get a bare bones logger. I'm literally just going to write a bare bones logger. We literally just want a bare bones logger that writes to the sync console. So yeah, bare bones, we just want this, and then when we load the engine proper, it'll load the entire thing. We just want a bare bones Serolog sync so we can dump stuff. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we have that set up because that'll override. So it'll load app settings and it'll load app settings on Serolog. Alright, anyway, then we have our Serolog configuration. We need to actually add our Serolog logger factory builder. So I'm just going to copy the name of that. I'm going to add new item. I'm going to do that. We're going to call it Serolog. Okay, so any. I need this too. So some of this stuff is going to be shared. Some of this stuff is going to be shared, so what I'm going to do is the shared stuff I'm going to keep. Which the shared stuff is literally this. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to copy the whole logger factory and then we will tweak it to Serolog. So yeah, right here we're just creating another Microsoft game factory, but we're going to do so we don't want to mess with the configuration function, that's the same. However, this here is where we need to start fixing stuff. So first of all, we need to define some overrides down here. We need to free unmanaged objects. That, and then we're going to do log, which is not log, not anything else. Pose and flush. And then on the async function, we need to do that too. Free unmanaged objects async. Actions refactoring, just use block body. We're literally just, when this class gets disposed, we need to close and flush it async. That's actually going to be a problem, thinking about it. Yeah, actually, we're not going to. No, that'll kill the Serolog, because, yeah, we're not going to do that, actually. Okay, anyway. So we just want this, and then here we want to. So I don't care. Okay, so in here we need to do this. So we need to actually not use a compound thing. So we do if this dot logger factory is not no log close and flush, because we're going to be. Spoiler warning, we're going to be using more than one logger, so log.logger, logger configuration, now.read from configuration, this configuration, create logger. Now here. Okay. Else, we're going to define that. If we don't pass anything in, we're just going to write to the console. So, if we don't get a configuration, we're just going to write to the console sync. Access refactoring. Why did it do that? Okay, so we can do a conditional build here. Yeah, if it's not null, we read from the configuration otherwise. Also, that means I don't actually need this in my app settings. We're not doing anything. We're not doing anything then. Like, it'll pass it in, but actually, yes we do. Yes we do. Yes we do. Yes we do, because that will pass a configuration, it'll read the configuration, there'll be nothing there. Okay, let me just fix this again real quick. Delete that. Delete all that. That. Let's make... So we just want to write to the console. Okay, so this is a fallback. Sorry, I got the plus one. Okay, so this is a fallback. So yeah. Anyway, and then we want to do this logger factory equals new logger factory. Provider, logger. There we go. So that should initialize Serlog. Actually, this needs to be is null. So if it is null, initialize it, otherwise we're good. Okay, so this should work as is. So yeah, if for some reason we don't get a configuration passed in, just default to the basic writing to the console. Okay, so now if I switch this to Serlog, we should have a Serlog instead of a Microsoft. This is the power of DI, by the way. I can literally, like, this is why I want a DI-based theme engine, because I can just swap things in and out. If I need to build a platform that doesn't support Serlog for some dumb reason, we can just swap it out with something that does. Same with, like, literally everything else. If, you know... Yay, we have Serlog. Save that, and just double check the commits. Yeah, okay, it's that. Okay, now for realsies. I have all the wee shenanigans we need done. So now let's actually get our game engine building going, including getting not good words. Including getting things working. Okay, anyway. Also, I'm gonna add a registrar real quick. Add new folder. Add this real quick. No. Add new folder. Actually, that's in the wrong spot. Yes, I know. No! No! Do not delete that. Delete that. Add folder. One click. Registrars. Add new item. XerShade configuration registrar. Registered. Funny. So I'm going to implement this so we can actually load in our XerShade JSON settings. So we want to load it in configuration registrar. And we want to implement this, implement interface. And we're literally just going to load one file, so I don't need a block body. We're just going to do manifest, add entry. Settings.xerShade.json true change true. I'm going to add some logic to these registrars later so I can check to see if a service is loaded. It's like I want to add a thing so I can check to see if like this is loaded. So if this is not loaded, we obviously don't need this, but for now we're just going to blindly dump it because basic. Get things working, complicate it later. So yes, that registrar. That registrar will load our app settings.xerShade.json. I will be adding a different registrar to load the base app settings file into the engine, but yeah, so that's our XerShade thing. And then I will add a system maybe for detecting those. I don't know. We'll see. Again, complicate it later. Okay, anyway, in our game container, let's get onto the flow here. Okay, so we have a very big function. So, because I don't want to do this 20,000 times, and we have different types of registrars, we're going to create a protected virtual by enumerable T registrar. Get registrars. At registrar. Okay, so we're gonna get this. And then we're gonna do list. The registrar. Registrars equals new list. And then if I could find my hand on the keyboard correctly. We're just going to return registrars.to as new. So we're just going to pass this in. This is not doing anything yet, but it will do in seconds. Okay, so we need to find all of the T registrar types. So we're going to do enumerable. I'm going to enumerable T registrar types equals app domain parent domain get assemblies, and this is where we're going to love lambda. Select many get types where, so we're selecting all the types in our assemblies, reinforcements assemblies, we're selecting all of our registrar types. Actually, we're selecting every type, and now we're going to filter them. So we want to do T type of T registrar is assignable from T, and it is not T.is interface, and it is not T.is abstract, because we don't want to try instantiating abstract classes or interfaces. That will go miserably for you. And then after we get all those things, just do over. What did I do? What did I do wrong? Oh, it's because we don't want to register one type. Yeah, I'm done. So we don't actually want to do that. We want to get the types. We'll do that in a second. Because yeah, we want to get that, and then we want to do a loop type. For each type, type in register types. So we'll loop through them. So the registrars do not take anything in their constructors. If they do, it's not going to work. Try T registrar equals activator, create instance, just type. And you need to actually cast that. Let's just copy that in. I'm just going to copy my error message and code. Okay, so it's going to try to load the registrar and then registrar and then pop in the debug message. I'm going to pop in the debug message there just so I can see what's going on. I will clean it out later. And then yeah, right before we return this, we're just going to pop that in there. Just again a debug message, so it's actually not there. Okay, so we have some debug information to play with. We don't really care about this in production. Unless you want a little debug log to see why someone's game is broken, but so yeah, that'll get us our registrars. And now we can go step down the list of things we need. So first thing we need is we need to make our configuration. So now we actually get to have and keep this. I'm going to actually abstract this property. So we're going to do protected configuration. Where is that? Configuration, and we're going to do a public accessor. That one's is not going to be typed. I'm going to do this configuration, row, new, no reference exception. Just do that for now. So we'll just make a property for that. Actually, I'm going to define that a little bit. So let me just do this actually. The get function we want that. And we're going to protected set. This configuration equals value. So let's just make a property. So we're going to make a property, and then this is going to get pulled up with the thing. This is not, this is just how I like to mask when I need of this, but I don't want to put 50,000 if configuration is not null checks everywhere, so. Okay, anyway, so let's add our next overload. Oh. Are you using the dispose? Yes, I'm using it because I'm using the dispose pattern. That's why we're using it. I was just thinking, we don't really need any things. Like, I need to actually block this. Is that thing? Oh. Get lock this lock. That. And I'm just going to do just in case something is async on it. We actually don't need the lock, because that should never be accessed publicly, and this is a single-threaded container, so what we need the block for is if something is getting the configuration. Also, I am going to make this under. I don't know, I don't like. I might move these out. I'm gonna move this out. Definitely gonna move these out. You know. Pick the partial class and let's do that. Add item. Game container. That. CS file. Game container, do that. Just put that. Why is my IntelliSense number? Hang on. Delete that. Add new item. Game on container dot properties dot cs. There it goes. Remove and sort user. We haven't set it. Now we need to do a partial class. There, we don't need to define all the interfaces and shit again. It's a partial class. We build off that. So I'm gonna put the properties in the row filed, because I don't like these in the middle of these. We're just gonna do that. And in fact, actually, I'm gonna steal the. Yeah, I'm gonna steal the fields they access to. Okay, so we have that. Okay, anyway, Now that I've figured that mess out, okay, let's make our next overload. Make our next function. Protected virtual eye configuration. Get configuration. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. So this needs the eye configuration. I'll just pass in the provider. Eye service provider. Eye service provider. Service provider. Okay, we need eye configuration sources. No. Eye configuration manifest. That manifest equals service provider, get required service, eye configuration manifest. So let us get a configuration manifest, and then spoiler warning, we're returning that. And then up here in the constructor, we're literally just going to do that. So we're going to do this configuration equals this dot get configuration service provider. So we're just going to pass the service provider into things. That's how I'm going to handle this. Okay, so let me just also put this here. Okay, and then what we need now that we have this, we need an eye enumerable, eye configuration registrar, that registrars equals this dot get registrars eye configuration registrar. So we want to get the manifest and we want to get the registrars. And then we're going to do for each eye configuration registrar, and registrars. And we'll do registrar dot add configuration entries manifest. So this will loop through all the registrars, so it'll find the registrars via this function. Again, we're going to be reusing this. That's why I defined it up here. Anyway, so we're going to make a manifest. This is a transient thing, so we're going to make a We're going to get a manifest from the provider. We want to do this with DI because, like I said, some things might need other things. Let the DI container handle injection. But we want to get the registrars. We want to go through the registrars and do them, and then we want to build. That is that part done. That is the easy part done. Now, fun part. We need to reinitialize the logger factory. Now that we have our good configuration, we need to handle our good things. Also, I'm going to expand these later to pass in the logger and the factory, maybe? I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, figure that out later. Actually, you know what? Let's not figure that out later. Let's just do it now. Let's just pass in a logger, just in case someone needs a logger. We'll pass this in. We'll pass this in everywhere. We don't need a logger factory every time. So yeah, let's just pass this in and this logger factory. Okay, logger eye configuration. So we want to pass the manifest in, then pass in a logger in case someone needs it. I'll just do it here just to be safe, and then I need to update my Serolog configuration registrar because that's not going to be validated. Logger, Serolog, configuration registrar, logger. Why are you complaining? You shouldn't. Okay, so we're not using it. I'm not using it right now, but say someone wanted to log what they were loading for some reason, or if there was some logic going on. Yeah, it's just preemptively solving a problem I don't need to solve right now. Okay, so we have our configuration. So now we need to rebuild our logger factory, which I am literally just going to do what I did here, except I'm literally just going to do what I did here, except I'm going to create some functions, just because, yeah. We are literally just going to do this here, except we're going to create some functions. And this is taking this .config. Actually, we don't need to pass that in. We have access to that. Property genius. Okay, so yeah, we're just going to do that. So we can override the behaviors. I don't want anyone overriding this behavior. Look at this, maybe. I don't want anyone overriding like the above behaviors, but you know what? Let's actually switch this to this. Create basic logger. Need anything? No. That's not what I wanted. Protected virtual logger container. Logger, just in case someone needs to overwrite this, but I doubt it. Yeah, we're just literally going to copy these functions and I'm going to change how they work. So I'm just literally going to copy these to down here. I'm going to get rid of the word basic. And we're literally just going to, well, that one is not changing. The logger is not changing. In fact, actually the only thing changing on that is I'm going to put a block on it. Let me switch this to a block body. So we can write in that. Up here, we're going to write in. Okay, so right in here, we're going to write in this, and instead of getting a configuration manifest and build configuration, and pass in this configuration. So we're still going to get the log factory builder, except instead of building a basic configuration to use, we're just going to pass into the configuration as a rule. So now, I'm going to do some shenanigans here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my app settings.serolog. So I'm just going to copy this. If I copy this, and I open this, and I set this to critical. So if I change this, I'm going to switch it to that. Okay, so if I do this, we shouldn't get two messages now, because the first logger is going to load, not like just the console, it's just going to dump to the console. Maybe I'll add the minimum log level stuff in later, but honestly, the only thing using the logger at that point is my engine container, and I know what it's dumping, so. Yeah, so it just did that, and it's not going to show debug messages by default. We would need a different way to do that, but yeah. As you can see with Naked Tooth messages, we got all the information messages, and then it stopped outputting to the console. If I undo what I just did to my serolog.json, which that's actually going to want to be in the debug. Again, I will play with the app settings.json shit later. Sorry, language. Yeah, so if I run this again, we should get 2 messages. I'm not going to keep this here, obviously, but yeah. So we should have a console, and then we recreate it. So that was working. And now that I've set it back, we should get 2. We should get 2 messages. The 2 started. We should get 2 of the starting messages. Okay, so that's how we know it's working, because this did not show up last time, which means it loaded the configuration properly. See, we want to make a basic logger. And then, so we want to make a basic logger, record the construction, and then that logger will get used in this, and all of these. And then everything past this line here will be using the real logger. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, but yeah. And then, like I said, I will do some setting up and stuff properly later. How long have I been coding? Oh, 2.5 hours. Fun. So yeah, that's the logger built. Now we just need to do the service collection. Yeah, the service collection is going to be fun. Oh dear. Hang on. What am I doing? Also, I don't actually need this properties file, actually. Let me just get rid of that. Because, yeah, that's actually going to be set in the constructor anyway. I'm done. Let me just do public. Because there should be no way to use them before I am done doing the constructor nonsense here, so... and then we just want to do public the only service provider. Okay, and then up here, we actually want this one to be protected. When protected, read only container builder. So the container builder is going to be the fun part. Okay, so now that we have the logger, we need to go to the next step. We need to do this container builder equals this create container. And we want to pass in services. Down here, we're going to go down here, and we're going to do protected virtual container builder, create section container service collection services. Okay, now comes the fun part. Let me get the log message for that. Let me get the log message for that because that's the easy part. Alright, now we're gonna do this stuff. We're gonna do a container builder. This new container builder. Not populate. Why not? Nope. Okay, no method chain. Builder. Populate. No, why not? Why is this not working? Container builder dot. No. That. Populate. Missing something. Why is autofacts? What? I'm missing something. Autofacts. Oh, self, that's probably why I don't see that. I mean, what is that? Using autofact. Why I can't find it in the thing. It's defined. There we go. Populate services. I want to populate the existing services. Okay. Okay, so let me get back on track here. Create automatic base injection container. Create the container builder. Populate it with the existing shit. So all of the stuff we plug in here, we just want to plug in there. Then we want to get to the fun. So we need to register a couple things manually ourselves. So what to do? Builder dot register instance. This configuration dot as I configuration dot single instance. And then we want to do equals container builder dot. What is this return? Okay, yeah, we don't actually do it. Register instance. Factory. So we need to basically plug in all the stuff we created. We need to plug in all the stuff we've created in the container. We need to plug it into the DI container. And then container builder, register. And this is registered generic. Type of logger as type of logger. I don't think that's correct, but if it's not correct, someone commit a pull request and fix it. Okay, anyway, then we just need to get the registrar. So get I service registrar. Registrars equals this get registrars at for each I service registrar at return that at the end. And then we do registrar services builder this configuration this logger factory. We don't want to do that with the config. Obviously, we can't do that with the configuration, but yeah. In fact, you know what? I'm going to change that up to. Where's my this? I'm going to pass in the logger factory instead. If people need a logger, they can request one from the factory, otherwise. And the reason we want the configuration is I was going to have a DI based configuration thing going on, but we can do that later. So yes, this too, we want to pass in that too. I think get my bar up here. Okay, so that is done. So this registers all the services. So we create the builder, we do. Okay. And then the last thing we need to do when creating the engine container is we need to address the fact that this, it's complaining that the provider is not being magicked into existence. So yeah, we need to do this provider is this create service provider. And this doesn't actually take anything. So down here, we're going to do protected, employee, my service provider. Alright, so now Okay, so create artifact and jig. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to set this up. So we're going to do I container. This is why I was very careful not using the word I container. I container equals this dot container builder dot build. Service provider equals new auto track service provider container. And then once we're done with that, we need to copy in another log message just so it's believe me if I said it is literally just, you know, I'm just gonna make this. Would you believe me if I said it was literally just doing this? Except I need to change this. So, yeah, would you believe me if I said as soon as we do the setup, we just need to enumerate the registrars and run them? Anyway, that is our DI container completely done. I don't have any other registrars or anything being loaded right now. But if I just run this, that is our modular DI container completely done. If I just run this, and obviously I'm going to need more logic and stuff for the registrars and stuff at some point, like if we have like different things for different platforms in the base code. We can select those, but again, keep it simple right now. So the only thing I don't like is it didn't report the debug messages for this. So what I need to do is I need to actually tweak app settings.json, and we need to actually include this in the thing. In Serolog. So we're going to copy that in there. So I'm not even going to override anything. We're just going to set the default midlog level. Again, in production, we can change this so this doesn't register anything. But for default, we just want to debug everything. And then here we will override. So yeah, we want a basic sync for debugging. And then once that's done, in fact, I could even put this in the app settings.debug file, so I might just do that instead. There, it's actually showing now. So yeah, we loaded one configuration registrars. Not doing anything with that, but yeah. That's our dependency injection container going. So now we can start making things DI container based. So this mess of I'm gonna go through and do some documentation and stuff on this, but yeah, that is our thing done. Actually, let me do that. Let me add that. Let me add this in. Let me actually do what I said here. So let me just. Just set up the debug logging in here. Let me just set it up in here real quick. And that means we also don't need this. We don't need any of this. Just define that there. We don't have any other overrides right now, so we'll just do that. And even then, we can define that in app settings and load it in with registrar. This base app settings just needs to be a base. We can load things in as they're needed. In fact, I'm going to tweak this so this only gets copied in if it's in development. Real quick, I'm going to hi. So that is our container done. And what I can do here in the common, what I can do here in the project items thing, this is what like imports things. So this is like the room namespace for the project. These are all the files it includes. Like, it's like you see disposable, and you have all of our JSON files here. What I can do is I can tag this. So like this app settings.development.json. We can, well, not put it there. We can get rid of it there, and we can include a new item group that only builds on build, and then we can do the same with release. We have to do this manually, but I'm not going to put anything here yet. So yeah, we can include these in our project things, and then this is the power of shared projects, because what I can do now, if I really wanted to, I could do something like, if I just open, where is it? Did I not? Oh, I didn't change it. Hang on, let me pull up this because I know I did. Yes, I did. Let me do this. So if I really wanted to, this item group here, where it had like this, I'm not gonna save this, but like, say I only wanted Serolog if we were building release. If I only wanted Serolog when we were building release, I could put this in here, and like I could change the paths for these. So like, I could have like, so like if I only wanted to load the Serolog stuff at debug, I could just do that. Yeah, that is the power of shared projects. You can do this in the normal project too, but I just like this format better. So yeah, this will only copy the app settings.json now if we're in there. And let's do preserve newest. And then I'm going to include app settings.production. I'm not actually going to have that in there, but if I just copy into this and reload that, you'll see it's doing that now. I need to actually create that, so let me just open a new console. I need to actually create that, or it's going to scream. If I just create a empty, because I don't have any, yes, because I don't have any settings yet, let's just pop that in there. Where's that? Where's that? That. So now, the way this is set up, now, if I switch this to release, pay attention to the sidebar. Why did that not update? Let me reload this project. I might need to reload it because I messed with it. So let me collapse. Okay, that's being stupid for some reason. Now let me get rid of that. I just show this then, I'm going to set up the production thing to be copied too. If I just go here to bin, I'm going to set up the production overrides to be included. If you see here, no app settings.debug. And I didn't actually build it on debug yet, but if I build this on debug now, I'm going to set up the production thing in a second. Take a second to build. Yeah, see, we have an app settings.development, but we don't get that in release. So I do want to include the production overrides. But yeah, we can set it up like that. Yeah, we can set it up on. So let me just set this up. So let me just set this up because I want to set this up to show it off. Let me just get rid of that. Let me add new file. Add settings stuff. Just going to create a blank JSON file. Here. Yeah, we don't. So, the power of these item groups. So, we could do this for everything too. I'm not going to just define it blankly. So, like, we could include like a wildcard thing. So, like, it would do anything.json or anything.production.json. We could wildcard it. I will figure that out later. I'm like extremely dizzy and stuff from this migraine, and I just want to wrap this up. But yeah, so if we're building in production, let me discard that so it reloads. If I switch it to release, which is production, I will figure that out later. If I build this again, I don't know why I closed that folder. Give me a second. So, real quick, just showing off. You see we have the app settings.development.json. If I come over here now to release, we have app settings.production instead of development. So yeah, we can configure build that, and like I said, I will automate that later. But as you see, we get no console window anyway, so I can't really show this off, but yeah. Let me just show this off. Actually, I can actually show this off. So if I go down to where I'm defining it, let's switch this to a debug window real quick. I'll just change the output type so we can see. So if this works, we should see no debug messages. So those successfully created blah 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 messages that let you know how many registers are loaded, do not see any of that. Yeah, we're not seeing any of those debug messages. Seralog is manually doing that. Never mind, I lied. The base debug messages aren't doing that. I need to go through Seralog and fix the Seralog configs. Real quick, actually, so let me do that too. Let me add new item. add these. I'm just going to write those there. I'm going to write that there. And then I need in my Serolog this here. I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to get rid of the log level definings. Actually, I'm going to define the minimum log level in Serolog as information. I'm just going to make that into a one line because we aren't defining anything there yet. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then don't need that. And then in this, I'm going to go boop, boop, and I'm going to get rid of all this other crap except for this. And then actually in the debug thing, I'm going to do the same thing. But in this too, I'm actually going to put that there. I need to go get me my oh, okay, that's gonna be wrong. So we're just gonna do that. Load is it? Okay, now I'm gonna make sure these are all set to output directory if newer. Save those. Come up here. And you're going to copy this production. We don't want production files. We don't want production files if we're not using them. I don't know why it's not showing there. Try this instead. Again, I need to do that. Okay, that should be in there. So if we're in debug mode, okay, hang on, let me try this instead. Let me save that. That's gonna be confusing, but let me just do this real quick. If I get rid of, I delete the bin folder. Build it. We're on release. If I build, also I want to see. I'm gonna leave that as it is real quick because I want to test this. Okay, I'm gonna bin desktop release. App settings, productions. So it says they'll never copy, but ignore that. So yeah, we want to include them by default, but then over here we want to override them so they get copied. So yeah, a little bit of manual work. Again, I will do some regex and shenanigans with that thing. Anyway, that is fixed. But now if I run this, we should not see any debug messages. And I will like organize this with links and like I said, I will organize this so it'll be like better. I can mess with the project files maybe and stuff. So yeah, you see we have no debug messages at all now. And then if I switch back to debug, so let's fix this just so it's not. Yeah. And then I need to actually pull these up. So there's a base type. We're going to need that in a second, so we'll just do these. Anything with a star. Public. Select all the. Yeah, fun little thing. If you're building an interface, just select public, and you can pull it up. I don't know why it's not letting me. I don't know why it's not letting me do that though. Let me just. Oh, it's because those are properties. Let me do this. Those are read-only fields that need to be properties. So this is just the property version of read-only. Now, there we go. Just keep clued into the fact that that's a thing. So now, if I do... There, I can now pull it up to the base type. So if we do this, select public, go... There we go. Aha. Perfect. Yeah, these only have get and init, so can't change it once it's... So the init thing only works in the constructor. So that's a fun thing. So yeah, that means over here we can now do this. So if we had... let's just do game 1. So yeah, if we had a game 1 registered with the provider, we could do that. We don't have that registered with the provider, so we can't do that yet, but yeah. And then we also have access to configuration in the loggers. So like if I wanted logging here for some reason, if I needed to log something in here, we could either create a logger for this, or we could just... But anyway, that is our game DI container done. Again, I need to go through some of this stuff and organize it, like these app settings, I want to organize into a folder structure. So like we would have like app setting, like we'd have like a settings folder or a configuration folder or something, and then have those in there. But I want those to copy directly to the page. I don't know. I'll figure it out in a bit. We can mess with those. Again, we can refract all of this, but yeah, that is our engine DI container. Like pretty much done. Again, needs some advanced features. But for what we are doing right now, 2 videos in and like only like 4 hours into development of this, because I've literally not worked on this unless it's been on stream, this is working. But now, the fun part. Now that we have a basic DI container, we can start setting up monogame. So yeah, I might, like I said, off stream, I might figure out how to organize some of this, but yeah, we have a basic DI container. And now we can start modularizing some of our mono game stuff. So like, eventually, like I said, for plugins. So like in plugins here, we would have like a thing. We would do plugins somehow, and then the plugins could, like, we would need to do this in the container, obviously, before it goes to the provider. Like, we need to load the plugins while we're building the container because you can't add to the provider after it's built. Because anyway, so yeah, plugins would be able to plug that in, and then it'd be able to inject here, and then we're gonna modularize the game class. So instead of hard coding stuff like this here, where we're loading this, specifically this here, which is the character stuff, we could abstract this out to like a initializer, or a, in this case, a load content interface, like what we're doing with registrars here, but mono game related. And the fun thing is we can read anything that is not a draw function or using textures. We could do on the client. It's like this, but then we could also have like logic stuff in the game loop here. We could have that on the server. But anyway, that is a thing I need to go plan on that. Yeah, we have a DI container now. A little bit of setup required. We just need to pass in the log factory builder, the configuration resolver, and the configuration manifest. And the reason we pass those in is because different platforms. However, so like on Android, I would pass in an Android configuration resolver, which would just override or rewrite the things to take in, I think. And also on Android, I would pass in the asset manager as a service. Yeah, if I just run this real quick, load one thing. We don't have any services to load or configure yet, so we just do that. And yeah, we have a DI container now to go with a cat. Anyway, that is it for this devlog. Sorry it went on a bit long, but this was literally like the absolute core of our game. I need to go through and do commenting and fun stuff on all this, but yeah. So now, like I said, so we would obviously do this differently. But like, say a plugin wanted to load a configuration file, like I did with the registrars in the Serlog here. You would just make one of these, inherit this, and then when I program the engine, how to create plugins, that nonsense when it comes later. Or say, you know, someone made a library for my game that. Say you're using my engine and someone made a library that adds a bunch of systems. They could just add registrars and stuff, and the engine would auto-load them. It's literally the personification of the open-close principle. This container is open for extension, closed for modification. There's a moth in the room. Yay. Later. I need to figure out where all my screen is and all, because moths are fine. Wasps are not. So yeah, this is literally the personification of the open-close principle. It's open for extension, closed for modification. You don't need to change this. I will be changing this because I still have a lot more complex logic and stuff to add. You don't need to change this to add stuff to it. So, like, if someone wanted to add something into the container, they could just make an I service registrar, and then, like we're doing here with this, you get the auto back. So, yeah, you just do this, you take the container builder, pass it in stuff. I might need to do some minor refactoring. I need to do some minor refactoring on some of these things, because like some of these names I kind of miffed, like this. I might want to change out the container builder. That one's fine. Actually, no, build is fine. I don't know. Anyway, that is it. I am rambling. Task done for today. Hope everyone enjoyed. I will see you all next time. Going forward, we should have live streams instead of offline uploads, because I should have live streaming in about 3 hours.